Okay, let's dive into this. We have this source material from you, the listener, and it's really thoughtful. It explores something I think, well, pretty much everyone's felt right.
Hmm. That experience of how someone who was like your whole world just isn't anymore. They feel like a stranger again.
Yeah, it's a powerful shift. Sometimes kind of unsettling.
Definitely. So this deep dive, we're really going to get into that journey. Use the reflections in the source you sent to, unpack the dynamics.
Right. The mission isn't just to say, yep, this happens. It's more about digging into the process the source describes. How do we even navigate that?
And what can we learn from it? About connection, about loss, all of it.
So it kicks off with this core paradox, doesn't it? This idea of someone going from being everything.
Basically nothing in your day-to-day life anyway.
And crucially, it frames it as an active thing, which I found interesting. It's not just drifting apart passively.
No, the source implies we make them strangers. There's an action there. We learn to forget, maybe even force ourselves to forget.
Forcing it. And what we use to fill that space, they leave.
Yeah, and there's that really interesting point, too, that the aftermath, the dynamics after things end.
Tell you more.
Exactly. Often reveal more about you or even the connection itself than when you are actually in it.
That line about grief being a faster teacher than joy really jumped out.
Oh, absolutely. It suggests the pain, the difficulty of it all actually speeds up your understanding in a way happiness doesn't.
But then the source doesn't just let you sit with simple forgetting. It pivots pretty quickly.
Yeah, it brings up the persistence of memory. The bits that linger.
Totally. And not just vague ideas. It's specific stuff, places, things someone said.
And songs. Oh, man, songs are powerful for that.
Aren't they? You hear that song and suddenly, bam, you're right back revolving around them.
Exactly that feeling. We're revolving around them again. And the source kind of nudges you, like, did we ever really stop?
Which makes you question this whole forgetting thing. Is it actually forgetting?
Like those key dates, birthdays, anniversaries, first times, promises made.
Yeah, do they ever get truly neutralized, wiped clean?
The piece seems to suggest, well, maybe not really erased. It's more like these things get decidedly ignored because there's simply no other choice.
Okay, so it's almost like a survival mechanism.
A deliberate act, yeah. Your mind saying, look, we got to move on.
And it just drags your heart along for the ride. That phrase, mind tells you to go on and forces your heart to follow suit.
Yeah.
That feels very real.
And this kind of flows into the source's view on love itself. It puts forward a pretty strong take.
Which is?
Basically, you either love someone in some way forever, or you never really loved them at all.
Whoa. That's quite a statement. What's the thinking behind that?
It uses this metaphor like two reactive chemicals cross. Once they've reacted, both are fundamentally changed.
You can't just unreact them.
Pretty much. The change is permanent even if the intense reaction period is over. The connection leaves a mark.
And sometimes those marks are more like wounds.
Exactly. The source talks about wounds we leave in people being too raw to risk falling back into them.
So even if there's still something there, some connection, it's just too painful to get close to again.
Right. Which pushes back hard against that easy idea that, oh, we just write people off because they simply don't matter anymore.
Yeah, the source seems to reject that. It wonders if maybe sometimes we force the separation purely out of necessity, like self-preservation again.
Because the core belief seems to be that love isn't, like, disposable. You don't just use it up and throw it away.
Sure.
If it was real.
It leaves a trace, an indelible one.
Okay, so if we're not just forgetting, and they still matter somehow, what is this process? How do they become strangers again?
This is where that central metaphor comes in, right? The universe's idea.
Yeah, that we're all at the centers of our own little universes.
And sometimes our universes bump into each other or even collide.
Overlap or collide,
Yeah, and these aren't just minor bumps. The source says they can wreck us, change us, shift us, fundamentally alter things.
They really can. And it describes two main ways these collisions play out.
Okay.
Sometimes the universes merge into one. A deep, lasting bond forms.
Like a stable new system.
Right. But other times we rescind. We pull back.
Why?
Maybe because, as the source puts it, the comfort of losing what we thought we knew wins out. It feels safer to retreat to your own space.
Choosing the familiar safety of being separate over the maybe scary or difficult work of merging or dealing with the collision's aftermath.
Makes sense, right? But either way, whether you merge or pull back, the source says the outcome of these intense experiences, these endings, it changes you.
You expand.
You expand. You're left knowing that much more about love and what it can do.
And also about pain, the very specific kind of pain.
Oh, yeah. The pain that only a hole in your heart and space in your bed and emptiness in the next chair over can bring. It's visceral.
That intimate knowledge of a specific absence, which leads to those really tough questions the source poses.
Like, can the person who made that exact hole ever fill it again?
Or can anyone else ever perfectly match the outline of someone who is so deeply impressed in you?
It really highlights how unique some connections feel, how they shape us.
But then the source kind of pivots back to the beginning, reminds us how all connections start.
Right. We all start as strangers, every single one.
And it captures that initial spark so well, finding someone irrationally compelling.
Or discovering souls made of the same stuff. That feeling of instant recognition.
Yeah, and how just like mundane things, being in the same class, living nearby, can make it feel like you were never separate, like it was meant to be.
That initial ease, that access, it
Right.
feels so natural.
But here's a twist the source throws in.
Yeah.
After it's gone, maybe it's not that initial ease we're actually missing or, revolving around.
What then?
Maybe what we really crave deep down is another collision.
Waiting for another universe to collide with ours, to change what we can't ourselves, seeking that transformative power again.
Looking for that external force to shake things up.
And when you survive that storm, that collision, the source says the calm eventually comes back.
But you're not the same.
Not at all. We see the stars differently now. Your whole perspective is altered. Permanently.
Which loops us right back around. Connects the starting point strangers to the ending point.
And that final line just lands so powerfully.
We all start as strangers, but we forget that we rarely choose who ends up a stranger too.
It really reframes the whole thing, doesn't it? We focus so much on the active making them strangers, the forcing of forgetting.
But maybe the end state, them being a stranger again, isn't always our choice. Maybe it's just the physics of universes moving apart after colliding.
An inevitability sometimes.
So we've walked through this source you shared, looked at that paradox of everything to nothing, the active forgetting versus persistent memory.
The idea of love as a permanent chemical change, the colliding universe's metaphor.
Right, how they wreck us and change us, leaving that specific hole.
And that full circle from stranger to deeply connected back to stranger, often not by our own deliberate choice in the end.
And looking at these ideas, these reflections from the source, it really does give you a different way to think about your own experiences, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It adds nuance. It complicates that simple, just move on narrative we often tell ourselves or hear.
And that final thought it leaves us with.
Right.
It's quite something to chew on.
If we rarely choose, who ultimately ends up as stranger?
What does that really say about control? About the nature of connection and loss? How does seeing it that way change how you view people coming into your life?
And people leaving it, drifting back out into their own orbit. Yeah, lots to think about there.